All right, so multiplying, if you're multiplying binomials, we've actually already done this. If I have 6x times 4x, remember you do the number, 6 times 4 is 24. And then what do you do to your exponents? You add them, so there's one here and one here, so you get 2 total. Multiplying monomials, we've done those before. If you're multiplying a monomial times a binomial, we talked about this the first day. What's that property called? Distributive property. I take this number times everything inside the parentheses. That property is what we're going to use on this. That's the whole idea behind multiplying, is that I'm going to take this one times everything over here. So 5x times 2x cubed would be 10x to the 4th, and 5x times 6 would be 30x. Right? Or if I had, doesn't matter if I have more than 2 things inside the parentheses. So here I have this, take this 3x squared times everything in there. So negative 3x squared times 5x squared would be what? Negative 15x to the 4th. Negative 3x squared times 6x would be x to the 3rd, right? And negative 3x squared times negative 1 would be positive 3x squared. I know, that's in 5.4. All right, well, I'm going to jump to 5.4, then I'm going to come back to 5.3. 5.4 is talking about special factoring, special multiplying, I'm sorry. So the first one is FOIL. FOIL is just an acronym to help you remember our whole process behind multiplying. Just like I took that monomial times trinomial, so I take the first one times everything inside the parentheses. The whole thing behind multiplying is that I take everything in one times everything in the other one, and FOIL helps us remember that. The acronym is what? First, outer, inner, last. So if I have this right here, I have a binomial times a binomial. Again, my goal here is multiplying. No matter what we do, when we go back to 5.3 in a second, I'm taking this entire thing, everything in this one times everything in this one. FOIL just helps us remember to do that. So I take the first terms times each other. X times x would give me x squared. Then I take the outside terms times each other. X times negative 5, which would be negative 5x. Take the inside ones times each other, which would be positive 6x. And take the last ones times each other. 6 times negative 5 would be negative 30. Now I wrote them like this because my middle ones I can combine. So I get x squared plus x minus 30. Since those are just x's, I can combine those. Now again, the thought process here behind FOIL is just to remember that I'm taking everything in here times everything over here. So I took this first one times both of these, and then I take this second one times both of these. Okay, so FOIL is just a way to help us remember to do that. But the whole goal behind all of FOILing is to take everything in this one times everything in this one.
You do one with a fraction.
A FOIL one?
Not a FOIL, but just multiplying.
You got to pull up on your computer right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, let me do this one. I'll go back there. All right, so again, FOIL is just taking this one times everything over here. So that'd be what? 10x squared minus 15x. And then taking this one times everything over here. So it'd be negative 14x plus 21. So I have 10x squared. Combine these would be what? Negative 29x plus 21. So again, the idea behind FOIL is just a way to help you remember to take this one times everything over here and this one times everything over here. And we're going to use that same thought process when I go back to 5.3 for a second. All right, that one that you had, what was it? Was it negative 1/5?
No, just 1/5 x squared, parentheses, 20x squared minus 15x plus 1.
All right, so this one, again, I'm just taking this term times all three of these. The fraction does make it a little bit tougher. Really what you're doing here, the first one is x to the fourth. Y'all know that. X squared times x squared. So 20 times 1/5 is like 20 over 1. So it's actually like 20 times 1 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. So really what you're doing on all these is you're just dividing all these by 5. So 20 divided by 5. I'll write it out as 2 steps just to see it. But really that's what's happening here. And then this one would be 15 times 1 would be 15. And then 1 times 5 would be 5. X cubed. And this one would just be 1 times itself. So this becomes what? 4x to the fourth minus 3x cubed plus 1/5.
You get rid of 4x. 4x.
20 divided by 5. Yeah, so really when you're dividing by like 1/5 or 1/3, like if this is 1/3, I just divide all these by 3. Right. Or 1/2, I divide them all by 2. There's 1/5, so I divide them all by 5. All right, so we're going to use that FOIL idea. That's why I skipped to 5.4 to answer some of these next ones. First of all, before I do one, let's do one more like the FOIL. Shouldn't have said like the FOIL. What does this mean right here?
You're multiplying it by itself in parentheses.
I'm multiplying it by itself twice, right? Multiplying by itself twice. So don't just write 4x squared minus y squared. That's not right. Okay. Don't do that. I got to do this one times itself twice. So here again is FOIL. I take 2x times both of these. So I get 4x squared minus what? 2xy. And then here, you get what? Minus 2xy again. Negative y times negative y would be positive y squared. So when I combine these, I get 4x squared minus 4xy plus y squared. All right, so what happens when I have a binomial times a trinomial?
You just distribute twice and then add like things.
Right, so it's the same idea as FOILing. I got to take everything in one times everything in the other one. So I'm going to take this x times all three of these. Okay, so that would be what? 3x to the third. X times negative 4x would be negative 4x squared. X times 2 would be 2x. So I've taken this x times all of these. So now to make sure, I got to take this 2 times all of these. So 2 times 3x squared would be 6x squared. So I'm going to write that in the x squared column. 2 times negative 4x would be negative 8x. And 2 times 2 would be 4. And then I could combine these. Plus 2x squared, 2 minus 8 would be negative 6. So FOIL, again, the idea behind FOIL is that I'm taking everything in one times everything in the other one, and that's all the idea behind all the multiplying. When you distribute, you got to take out 1 times everything inside the parentheses. When you get one like this, you got to take this 1 times everything and this 1 times everything. So that everything in this one is being multiplied by everything in this one. I'm not sure one of these on the homework, but just to stress that point again. What if you have a trinomial times a trinomial? Same thing. I've got to take everything in this one times everything in this one. It's probably not very fun. So 2x squared times all those would be what? 4x squared plus 10x cubed minus 4x. What did I do wrong there? That should be 4x to the 4. 2x squared times x squared should be 4x to the 4. All right, so I've taken the first one times everything. Now let's take the middle one times all these. So negative 3x times x squared would be negative 3x cubed. So I'm going to write that in my x cubed column. Negative 3x times 5x would be negative 15x squared. Negative 3x times negative 2 would be positive 6x. So now I've taken this one times everything over here, this one times everything over here. So the last one I got to take the 4 times everything over there. So 4x squared, 4 times 5x would be 20x, and 4 times negative 2 would be negative 8.
I got a binomial cube.
Binomial cube.
X plus
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I'll do that one next. Was there another question? Okay. So here, add up those, I get plus 7x cubed. Negative 4 minus 15 plus 4 would be negative 15. 20 plus 6 would be 26 minus 8. What is that one that you got on the screen?
X plus 7 cubed.
X plus 7 cubed. So we talked about if it was squared, you do it times itself twice. So if it's cubed, you got to do it times itself 3 times. So the easiest way to do this one is to just ignore this first one to start, okay? So just don't look at that one. So do 2 at a time. So x, this would be, well, FOIL this one would be x squared plus 7x. And then 7x plus 49. So I have x squared plus 14x plus 49. And now let's take that one times the last one, x plus 7. So now I take this x times all 3 of these. So I get x cubed plus 14x squared plus 49x. And then the 7 times all 3 of these. So 7 times x squared would be 7x squared. 7 times 14x would be 98. 7 times 49 would be 343. And then add these up. So I get x cubed plus 21x squared plus some big number. So do, if it's cubed, do 2 of them and then do the third one. So what we have so far, adding, combine like terms, subtracting, change the signs of the second one, then combine like terms, multiplying, get multiply everything times everything in there. All right, so back to 5.4. All right, so 5.4 is talking about special products, which these are honestly like shortcuts. If you didn't know these, it's not a big deal. You can just FOIL all these. So 5.4, you could just FOIL the entire assignment and be fine on those. Just to show you how these work, if I have that, we just did this, but that's fine. X minus 5 squared. X minus 5 squared. If I FOIL this, so again, that's x minus 5 times x minus 5. Let's FOIL this and let's look at our answer for a second. So you have x squared minus 5x, and then take the negative 5 times both of those. So negative 5x plus 25. So I get x squared minus 10x plus 25. You know, before I talk about that, do one more like that so I can talk about both of them at the same time. So what if I have 2x plus 3 squared? So again, I'm going to do 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3. So I distribute the 2x and I get 4x squared plus 6x. And then I get 6x plus 9. So combine my two middle terms and I get 12x plus 9. All right, so all these are is a pattern, a shortcut pattern, and again, you can just FOIL on all these. Probably easier thing to do. So here, if I look at this, I have, anytime you have something squared, what you can do is you can square the first term, so x squared would be x squared. Square the last term, -5 squared, -5 would be positive 25. The middle term is a harder one. What you do on the middle term is you take the first term times the second term. So you do -5 times x, which would be -5x, right? And then you double that. So if I double that, I get -10x. That's a shortcut. Again, it's probably easier to FOIL that than actually do that shortcut. So most of y'all will continue to FOIL, which I'm perfectly okay with. This may help a little bit when we go to factoring, but it's not going to help that much. Like I would just advise FOILing on this section. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. But if you want to learn these shortcuts, that's fine. So on this one, again, you square the first term. So 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. For the last term, you square it. So 3 times 3 would be 9. So my middle term, you would do 2x times 3 is 6x. And then you double that, which is 12x. So just to do one of these to see if I had 4x minus 5 x squared. So I square the first term, so that would be 4x times 4x would be 16x squared. My last term, 5 times 5 would be 25. The middle term, I do 4x times -5, which is -20x, and then I double that, so it would be -40x. The one thing that we'll kind of focus on when we get to factoring is the only thing that we'll probably pay attention to is that since this is a negative right here, my middle term is going to be a negative. Since this one's a positive here, my middle term is a positive. So since this one's negative, this one's negative. The last one's always positive because no matter if I square it, if I square -5, -5 times -5 is positive 25. So there's the first shortcut, which again, you can just FOIL. You can probably FOIL quicker and you can do that. Okay, is that either way? The other shortcut is if I have x minus 7 times x plus 7. So here when I FOIL this one, I get x squared plus 7x. And what? -7x minus 49. So what happens to my middle terms? They cancel out. Anytime you have the same exact thing, just opposite signs, the middle terms will cancel out, and you can just do the first term sign each other and the last term sign each other. You don't have to do the inside and outside. So if I had this problem, since this is the same thing, they just have different signs. Really, all I have to do is 2x times 2x is 4x squared, and -5 times -5 is -25. Because if I actually FOILed it out, the middle terms would just cancel. I do not like even teaching that one. I don't spend very much time on it because then you're going to go to this problem right here, and you know what you're going to write for your answer? And that's not right because you got your middle terms there. Okay, so this one you still have to FOIL out, and you end up getting x squared plus x minus 6. Okay, so that shortcut I don't even like teaching because then you get in the habit of doing that. That only works. That shortcut only works when they're exactly the same, just a different sign. One's minus, one's plus. All right, so on 5.4, it opens up with FOILing, and then when it gets to the special products, I would just keep foiling. Probably not going to take that much longer. I just want to show you those because if you click on the view an example or anything like that, they're going to show you those special product rules. All right. 5.6.